Alex Rodriguez had been working the night shift at Kepler Station's engineering sector for 3 years, and in all that time, the most unusual thing that had happened was when a food synthesizer started producing coffee that actually tasted like coffee instead of recycled disappointment. So when he looked up from his workstation at 0200 hours to find a small alien child standing in his doorway with tears streaming down her face, his first thought wasn't security breach or unregistered visitor. His first thought was, oh no, someone's lost. The child was tiny, maybe 7 or 8 years old by human standards, with the distinctive pointed ears and luminous skin that marked her as Sci-fi. Her clothes were too big for her small frame and looked like they'd been slept in for days, and her dark eyes held the kind of desperation that made Alex's chest tighten with protective instinct. Please, she said in heavily accented English, her voice barely above a whisper, please, human, help us. They locked my mother in a cage. Alex set down his diagnostic tablet and moved slowly toward the child, keeping his movements calm and non-threatening. Hey there, sweetheart. What's your name? I am Kirillin of the Sci-fi people, she said with the formal politeness that her species was known for, even as her small hands shook with fear. And my mother is Dr. Nyalin, and they took her away and locked her in a cage like an animal. Who took her away? The humans in the white coats. They said she had to come with them for processing, but that was 6 months ago and she never came home and I have been looking for someone to help me find her. Alex felt cold certainty settle in his stomach. Kirillin, where have you been staying for 6 months? In the maintenance tunnels mostly. Sometimes in empty storage compartments when security sweeps come through. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, a gesture so human and childlike that Alex felt his heart break a little. I am very good at hiding and very quiet and I know how to find food from the waste recyclers. You've been living in the maintenance tunnels for 6 months. By yourself? I have been looking for my mother. And looking for a human who might help me, because humans took her so maybe a human can bring her back. Alex crouched down to her eye level, trying to process what she was telling him. A Sci-fi child had been living as a stowaway on his station for half a year while searching for her missing mother, surviving on scraps and hiding from security. Either this was the most elaborate con job in galactic history, or something very wrong was happening in human space. Kirillin, can you tell me more about these humans in white coats? Where did they take your mother? They came to our quarters in the diplomatic section. They said there were irregularities with her research visa and she had to come with them for additional screening. The child's English was getting better as she warmed to her story, as if talking about her mother helped her remember vocabulary. But Mama is a scientist, a good scientist who came here to do collaborative research with human universities. She would never do anything irregular. What kind of scientist? Xenobiology. She studies how different species heal from injuries, how our bodies repair themselves. She said human healing methods and Sci-fi healing methods could learn from each other, make both species stronger. Alex felt another cold finger of dread trace up his spine. Sci-fi regenerative abilities were legendary throughout known space. Their capacity to heal from injuries that would permanently disable other species had made them targets for everything from medical research to military interest. Kirillin, when these people took your mother, did they say where they were taking her? They said, temporary holding for additional processing. But I followed their transport to the departure bay, and I heard them talking to each other when they didn't know I was listening. Her voice dropped to a whisper, as if she was afraid someone might overhear even now. They said she was going to the facility and that she was perfect subject material. Perfect subject material for what? I don't know. But they were excited about it, the way people get excited about finding something valuable. Tears started flowing again, and Kirillin's voice broke with the kind of grief that no child should have to carry. Please, human Alex, your name tag says Alex, please help me find my mother. I know she is alive because I can feel her in my heart, but I know she is scared and hurting and I don't know how to save her by myself. Alex looked at this small, brave child who had survived 6 months alone in hostile territory while searching for her missing mother, and felt something shift in his chest. He'd always been good with technical problems, systems that could be diagnosed, repaired, optimized. People were messier, more complicated, harder to fix. But looking at Kirilin's tear-stained face, Alex realized that some problems were too important to worry about complexity. "Okay," he said quietly. "I'll help you find your mother." "You will?" The hope that blazed in her eyes was almost painful to see. "I will. But first, we need to get you somewhere safe, get some real food in you, and figure out exactly what happened to Dr. Nyalin." Alex stood up, his mind already shifting into problem-solving mode. "And we need to be very careful about who we trust, because if what you're telling me is true, there are people who won't want us to find her." "I trust you," Kirilin said simply. "You are the first human who listened to me instead of trying to send me away. How many humans have you asked for help?" 17. Most of them said it was not their problem or that I should contact station security. 3 of them called security to try to have me removed." Alex felt anger start to burn in his chest, anger at a system that could lose track of a child for 6 months, anger at colleagues who would turn away from a desperate plea for help, anger at whatever had happened to make a legitimate scientist disappear into bureaucratic limbo. "Well, I'm human number 18, and I'm not going to turn you away." Alex moved to his workstation and began securing his files, his engineering mind already working on the logistics of hiding a Scifistory child in his quarters while they investigated her claims. "Kirilin, I want you to know that finding your mother might be complicated, and it might take some time, and there might be people who don't want us to succeed. I know. I have been trying for 6 months already. But I also want you to know that you're not alone anymore. Whatever it takes to find Dr. Nyalin, we'll do it together." The smile that broke across Kirilin's face was like sunshine after a long storm. "Together? Together. You and me against whatever bureaucratic nightmare swallowed your mother." Alex held out his hand to her. "Partners?" Kirilin took his hand with small fingers that were surprisingly strong. "Partners," she agreed. "But Alex?" "Yeah. Thank you for being human number 18. I was starting to think all humans had forgotten how to help." As Alex led Kirilin toward his quarters, already mentally cataloging the resources he could access and the favors he could call in, he realized that his quiet life of technical maintenance and predictable routines had just ended. In its place was a mission that would probably get him in serious trouble with station authorities, and possibly with much more dangerous people than that. But looking at the determined set of Kirilin's small shoulders and remembering the desperate hope in her eyes, Alex found himself thinking that some troubles were worth taking on. Especially when they involved saving the mother of the bravest kid he'd ever met. Alex's quarters had never been designed to house a small alien child, but after 3 days of cohabitation, he was amazed at how quickly they'd fallen into a routine. Kirilin was remarkably self-sufficient for someone so young, probably a survival skill developed during her months of hiding in maintenance tunnels. She was also incredibly intelligent, with the kind of quick curiosity that reminded Alex why Scifistories were considered one of the most scientifically advanced species in known space. "The immigration records show your mother's visa was approved for extended research collaboration," Alex reported, reviewing the data he'd pulled from official channels. She was scheduled for a 6-month residency at the Kepler University Xenobiology department. But she never arrived there, Kirilin said, perched cross-legged on his couch with a tablet displaying her own research. "I contacted Professor Martinez 3 times. He says the university never received Dr. Nyalin, and when he inquired about the delay, he was told her application had been withdrawn due to security concerns. Security concerns that weren't mentioned in any of the official documentation. And that makes no sense anyway, because Mama went through full background screening before we left Salathia. She was approved by both governments for collaborative research." Alex looked at the child who had spent the past 3 days demonstrating research skills that would impress most graduate students, and felt a familiar mix of admiration and heartbreak. Kirilin shouldn't have to be this competent, this focused on adult problems. She should be playing games and attending school, not hunting for her missing mother through bureaucratic databases. Kirillin, I've been thinking about something you said the first night. You mentioned that you can feel your mother in your heart, that you know she's alive. Is that metaphorical, or? Oh no, it is literal. SciFi family bonds include low-level telepathic connection, especially between parents and children. The connection fades with distance and trauma, but it doesn't disappear completely unless. She trailed off, her expression becoming troubled. Unless what? Unless one of the bonded individuals dies, or unless the connection is artificially severed through medical intervention. Alex felt cold dread settle in his stomach. Medical intervention like what? Surgical alteration of the neural pathways that support telepathic ability. It is sometimes done to treat severe psychiatric conditions, but it requires specialized knowledge of SciFi neuroanatomy. Kirillin looked up at him with eyes that held too much understanding for her age. Alex, what if they are not just holding Mama? What if they are studying her? Studying her how? SciFi regenerative abilities are tied to our telepathic neural networks. If someone wanted to understand how we heal so quickly, they would need to examine those pathways. And if they were not concerned with our consent or welfare. Alex set down his tablet, no longer able to focus on immigration records while processing what Kirillin was suggesting. You think someone is conducting illegal medical experiments on your mother. I think someone saw Mama's research background in regenerative biology and decided she would be valuable as a research subject rather than a research partner. Kirillin's voice was steady, but Alex could see her hands shaking slightly. And I think there may be other SciFi who have disappeared under similar circumstances. Other SciFi? I have been monitoring communication networks during our research. In the past 18 months, 17 SciFi researchers, medical personnel, and graduate students have been reported missing by family members. All of them were in human space on legitimate visas, and all of them vanished during what should have been routine processing. Alex stared at her. 17 people. 17 that I have found records for. There may be more whose disappearances have not been reported or have not been entered into public databases. Kirillin, if what you're suggesting is true, then we're not talking about bureaucratic mistakes or immigration delays. We're talking about a systematic kidnapping operation targeting SciFi scientists. Yes, she said simply. And we are talking about people who have enough resources and authority to make multiple sentient beings disappear without attracting official attention. Alex rubbed his temples, feeling the weight of what they were facing settle around him like a heavy blanket. This is way beyond what I can handle with my engineering clearance and station access. But you will not stop trying. The question was asked with such quiet dignity that Alex felt his throat tighten. No, sweetheart. I won't stop trying. But we're going to need help from people with more authority and resources than I have. Who can we trust? It was a good question, and one that had been keeping Alex awake at night. If there really was a covert operation targeting SciFi scientists, then the people responsible had to have significant government connections and the ability to operate across multiple jurisdictions. That meant anyone in official channels could potentially be compromised. I've been thinking about that, Alex said. And I keep coming back to one person, Commander Sarah Chen from the Interspecies Rights Commission. She's got the authority to investigate this kind of thing, and she's got a reputation for being absolutely incorruptible. You know her personally. We served together in the Colonial Defense Force before I transferred to civilian engineering. She's tough as nails, completely honest, and she hates bullies more than anyone I've ever met. And you trust her? Alex thought about Sarah Chen, brilliant, principled, and possessed of the kind of moral courage that made her willing to take on fights that other people would avoid. I trust her with my life. More importantly, I trust her with yours. Then we should contact her. We should. But Kirillin, once we do this, there's no going back. If Sarah investigates and finds evidence of what we think is happening, it's going to become a very big deal very quickly. People are going to be arrested, careers are going to be destroyed, and there are going to be people who are very angry that we exposed them. And if we do not do this? If we don't do this, your mother stays missing, along with however many other scifi are being held, and the people responsible continue to operate without consequences. Kirillin was quiet for a long moment, staring out the viewport at the stars beyond the station. When she spoke, her voice carried a maturity that no 8-year-old should possess. Alex, for 6 months I have been alone and afraid and hiding in dark places while searching for someone brave enough to help me save my mother. You were brave enough to help me when 17 other humans were not. Now I must be brave enough to help you save not just Mama, but all the other scifi who need someone to fight for them. You're already the bravest person I know, Kirillin. Then we will be brave together. She turned to look at him with determination that reminded Alex forcibly of her missing mother's scientific reputation. Contact Commander Chen. Tell her that we have evidence of crimes against sentient beings, and that we need someone with the courage to seek justice even when justice is complicated. And if this all goes wrong? If we make enemies of powerful people who can make our lives very difficult, then at least we will have tried to do what was right instead of what was safe. Kirillin reached out and took his hand with small fingers that were surprisingly warm. Besides, Alex, you already saved me from living in maintenance tunnels. Everything else is just bonus rescue work. Despite everything, Alex found himself smiling at her phrasing. Bonus rescue work. You rescued one scifi child. Now we get to rescue many scifi adults. It is like a promotion in rescue difficulty. I love the way your mind works, kid. Then let us see if Commander Chen loves the way our minds work together. As Alex began composing the message that would either save Dr. Nialin or get them both in trouble with very dangerous people, he realized that Kirillin had already taught him something important about courage. It wasn't the absence of fear, it was the decision to act in spite of fear, because some things were too important to leave to other people. Looking at the determined set of her small shoulders, Alex found himself thinking that if an 8-year-old scifi child could face down a conspiracy that had been operating for months, then a human engineer with access to secure communications could certainly make a phone call. Even if that phone call was about to change everything. Commander Sarah Chen's arrival at Kepler Station 12 hours later was everything Alex remembered about his former commanding officer, efficient, thorough, and accompanied by the kind of quiet authority that made even station administrators snap to attention. She listened to Kirillin's story with the focused intensity of someone trained to extract maximum information from minimum time, occasionally asking questions that demonstrated both tactical expertise and genuine compassion for the child's situation. 17 confirmed disappearances, systematic targeting of researchers with regenerative biology expertise, and a child who's been surviving alone for 6 months while searching for her mother, Sarah summarized after reviewing their compiled evidence. Alex, you realize what you're describing sounds like a covert military research program. That's what we were afraid of, Alex replied, noting how Kirillin had positioned herself slightly behind his chair, close enough for protection, far enough to run if necessary. 6 months of hiding had left the child with survival instincts that broke Alex's heart. The telepathic connection you mentioned, Kirillin, Sarah said, addressing the child directly with the respect she'd always shown regardless of rank or species. Can you still sense your mother's location? Not precisely. But I know she is alive, and I know she is confined. The emotional resonance through our bond suggests distress and physical discomfort, but not the kind of pain that would indicate immediate danger to life. Can you give us any sense of direction? Distance? Kirillin closed her eyes, her pointed ears twitching slightly as she concentrated. Not far. Perhaps 2 or 3 days' travel from this station. And she paused, her expression becoming troubled. There are others nearby. Other scifi whose emotional signatures I can detect at the edge of my awareness. How many others? At least 6. Possibly more. They are muted somehow. As if their telepathic abilities are being suppressed or blocked. Sarah looked at Alex with an expression that confirmed his worst fears. That's consistent with what you'd expect if someone were conducting research on scifi neural pathways while keeping the subjects docile and compliant. Can you do anything official about this? Alex asked. Not immediately. The Interspecies Rights Commission has investigative authority, but I need more than telepathic impressions and circumstantial evidence to get a warrant for searching classified facilities. Sarah pulled up a stellar map on her tablet. However, I can conduct a preliminary investigation into facilities within range of Kira Lynn's telepathic sensing that might house this kind of research. And unofficially? Unofficially, if this is what it looks like, then someone with significant resources and government connections is committing crimes against sentient beings on an industrial scale. That kind of operation requires stopping immediately, regardless of legal niceties. Alex felt a mix of relief and apprehension at Sarah's words. Relief because he trusted her completely, and apprehension because he recognized the tone of voice that meant Sarah was preparing for the kind of mission that ended with either complete success or career-ending consequences. What do you need from us? He asked. I need Kira Lynn to help narrow down the location using her telepathic connection. And I need you to use your engineering expertise to help me understand the technical requirements of the kind of facility we're looking for. Technical requirements? Holding multiple Sci-fi subjects for extended periods would require specialized life support, medical equipment capable of working with alien physiology, and security systems designed to contain beings with enhanced healing abilities. Sarah began pulling up classified facility databases with the kind of access that reminded Alex why the Interspecies Rights Commission was both feared and respected. Cross-reference those requirements with facilities in Kira Lynn's sensing range, and we should be able to identify likely locations. Over the next 4 hours, they narrowed their search to 3 possibilities: a medical research station on the moon of Kepler, 442c, a classified military facility in the asteroid belt, and a corporate research platform in the outer system. Kira Lynn's telepathic impressions ruled out the asteroid facility, too much interference from metallic or deposits, leaving them with 2 targets. The medical station is closer and has the right kind of equipment, Alex observed, but the corporate platform has better security and more legal protection from investigation. The corporate platform also has financial incentives for developing marketable applications of Sci-fi regenerative abilities, Sarah added grimly. Medical patents based on alien biology are worth billions if they can be successfully developed and legally protected. Which means we need to check both facilities, but we start with the corporate platform because that's where they'd move high-value subjects if they needed to consolidate their operation. Kira Lynn, who had been quiet during their tactical planning, suddenly looked up with an expression of sharp attention. Alex, they are moving Mama. What? The emotional resonance through our bond just shifted. She is being transported somewhere, and she is more afraid than before. Sarah was already accessing real-time shipping and transport data. There's a corporate transport that departed from the medical station 20 minutes ago, destination logged as the research platform. Flight time approximately 18 hours. They are moving her because they know someone is investigating, Kira Lynn said with certainty that chilled Alex's blood. Someone told them that their operation might be discovered. Which means we have a leak in official channels, Sarah concluded grimly. And which means we can't wait for proper authorization or backup. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that we intercept that transport before it reaches the research platform, extract Dr. Nyalin and any other Sci-fi being held, and gather evidence of the illegal research program before it can be covered up or relocated. Alex stared at her. Sarah, that's basically a rescue mission against unknown opposition with potential military backing. Yes. And if we're wrong about what's happening? Then we apologize profusely and accept the consequences of our actions. But Alex, look at this child. Sarah gestured toward Kira Lynn, who was listening to their conversation with the focused intensity of someone whose entire world depended on the decisions adults made. She's been living alone in maintenance tunnels for 6 months while searching for her missing mother. 17 Sci-fi scientists have disappeared under mysterious circumstances. And now they're moving prisoners in response to our investigation. Which means we're not wrong about what's happening. We're just running out of time to stop it. Alex looked at Kira Lynn, who was watching him with quiet confidence that he would make the right decision regardless of the personal cost. He thought about Dr. Nyalin, who had come to human space seeking scientific collaboration and instead found imprisonment and exploitation. He thought about the other missing scifistories, whose families were probably searching for them with the same desperate hope that had driven Kirillin to live in hiding for half a year. "Okay," Alex said finally. "What do you need me to do?" "I need you to help me plan an intercept mission that gets everyone out alive and provides irrefutable evidence of what's been happening." Sarah's smile was fierce and determined. "And I need you to keep Kirillin safe while we're doing it." "I want to come with you," Kirillin said immediately. "Absolutely not," Alex and Sarah said simultaneously. "But I can sense Mama's location and emotional state. I can help you find her faster and determine if she is injured or in immediate danger." "You can do that from a safe distance," Alex said firmly. "This isn't a game, Kirillin. There are going to be people with weapons who will shoot first and ask questions later. And there are going to be frightened scifistories who may not trust human rescuers," Kirillin countered with logic that Alex found disturbingly compelling. "But they will trust another scifistory who can communicate with them telepathically." Sarah looked at Alex, then at Kirillin, then back at Alex with an expression that suggested she was weighing tactical advantages against protective instincts. "She's right about the communication issue," Sarah said reluctantly. "Traumatized prisoners might not respond well to human rescuers, especially if they've been conditioned to fear humans through months of experimentation. She's 8 years old. She's 8 years old and she's been surviving on her own in hostile territory for 6 months while conducting sophisticated intelligence gathering." Sarah's voice was gentle but firm. "Alex, I understand your protective instincts, but Kirillin has already proven she's capable of handling dangerous situations." Alex looked at the child who had become the most important person in his world, feeling torn between the desire to keep her safe and the recognition that her unique abilities might be essential to saving her mother and the other missing scifistories. "If she comes," he said finally, "she stays with me at all times. No heroics, no unnecessary risks, and if things go bad, she follows my instructions without argument." "Agreed," Kirillin said immediately. "And if we do this, we do it right. Full tactical planning, proper equipment, and backup plans for everything that can go wrong." "Also agreed," Sarah said. "Alex, we're going to save Dr. Nyalin and expose this operation. But more than that, we're going to make sure Kirillin gets her mother back and never has to hide in maintenance tunnels again." Looking at the determination in both their faces, Alex realized that what had started as one child's desperate plea for help had evolved into a mission to expose systematic injustice and rescue innocent people from exploitation. It was also probably going to be the most dangerous thing he'd ever done in his life. But as Kirillin reached out and took his hand with small fingers that had grown stronger over their weeks together, Alex found himself thinking that some risks were worth taking when they meant keeping families together. 6 months after the rescue mission that had exposed the largest illegal research operation in recent interspecies history, Alex stood in the kitchen of their new shared home, watching Dr. Nyalin help Kirillin with her xenobiology homework while breakfast synthesized in the background. The scene was domestic in a way that made Alex's chest warm with contentment, the kind of ordinary family moment that had seemed impossible during those desperate weeks of investigation and rescue. The cellular regeneration matrix shows optimal healing progression, Kirillin was explaining to her mother, pointing to diagrams that would have been beyond Alex's comprehension 6 months ago but which had become familiar through daily exposure to sci-fi scientific discussions. But the neural pathway integration suggests some residual trauma to the telepathic centers. "Very good analysis, Dr. Nyalin replied, her voice carrying the warmth of a mother proud of her brilliant child and the satisfaction of a scientist seeing her knowledge passed on. "What treatment protocols would you recommend?" "Gradual reintegration therapy combined with family bonding exercises to strengthen natural telepathic connections." "And the prognosis for full recovery?" "Excellent, given stable family environment and continued emotional support." Alex smiled as he listened to them discuss Nyalin's recovery from months of imprisonment and experimentation with the clinical precision that seemed to run in their family. The physical healing had been relatively straightforward. SciFi regenerative abilities had repaired the damage from medical procedures within weeks. The psychological healing was taking longer, but having Kirillin safe and cared for had provided motivation that no therapy could match. Alex, Nyalin said, looking up from the homework session with the expression of gratitude that still appeared in her eyes whenever she looked at him. Commander Chen called while you were reviewing the final testimony statements. The sentencing phase is complete. How did it go? 17 convictions on charges of kidnapping, illegal experimentation, and crimes against sentient beings. The research director received life imprisonment, the facility administrators received 20-year sentences, and the government officials who provided authorization are facing their own tribunals. And the SciFi who were rescued? All 43 subjects have been returned to their families and are receiving full medical and psychological support. The reparations fund has been established, and new protocols for interspecies research cooperation have been implemented to prevent similar incidents. Alex felt satisfaction settle in his chest at the confirmation that justice had been served and systems had been changed to protect other families from experiencing what Kirillin and Nyalin had endured. More importantly, Nyalin continued, moving closer to where Alex was monitoring breakfast preparation. Commander Chen said the Interspecies Rights Commission wants to offer you a position as technical investigator specializing in illegal research operations. They want to offer me what? A job, Alex, Kirillin explained with the patient tone of someone who had already grasped implications that adults were still processing. They want you to help them investigate other bad people who might be hurting aliens the way they hurt Mama. The Commission recognizes that your engineering expertise and moral courage make you uniquely qualified to identify and expose technical aspects of illegal research that traditional investigators might miss, Nyalin added. Plus, your experience working with alien families gives you cultural sensitivity that would be valuable in future cases. Alex considered this, thinking about the past months of investigation, testimony, and legal proceedings that had transformed his quiet life as a station engineer into something approaching a crusade for interspecies justice. What did you tell Commander Chen? I told her that you would need to discuss the offer with your family before making any decisions. My family? Nyalin smiled, the expression that had become Alex's favorite sight in any world. Alex Rodriguez, you saved my daughter's life, you rescued me from imprisonment, you exposed a criminal conspiracy, and you testified in court proceedings that lasted for months. More than that, you opened your home to strangers and made us part of your life when we had nowhere else to go. And if that does not make us family, then the term has no meaning. Alex felt warmth spread through his chest as he looked around the kitchen where they had built a life together, part human domesticity, part SciFi scientific precision, entirely theirs. Kirillin had started school and made friends and was thriving in ways that would have been impossible when she was hiding in maintenance tunnels. Nyalin had resumed her research career with a new focus on preventing medical exploitation of vulnerable species. And Alex had discovered that his engineering skills could be used for more meaningful purposes than maintaining station systems. So, he said carefully, hypothetically speaking, if I were to consider this job offer, would my family be supportive of the travel and irregular schedules that would probably be involved? Your family would be proud that you are using your talents to protect other families from experiencing what we went through, Nyalin said immediately. Your family would also expect to be consulted on cases involving SciFi subjects, because we have specialized knowledge that would be useful for investigations, Kirillin added with the pragmatism that never failed to amaze Alex. And your family would expect you to remember that you are not alone anymore, Nyalin continued, moving close enough to touch his arm with fingers that were warm despite their alien nature. Whatever missions you accept, whatever dangers you face, you have people who care about your safety and who will support you in fighting for justice. Alex looked at them, the brilliant scientist who had become his partner in life and work, and the extraordinary child who had become his daughter in every way that mattered, and felt the decision settle in his chest like something that had always been waiting there. In that case, he said, I think I should call Commander Chen back and discuss the details of this job offer. Does that mean you are going to become a professional hero? Kirillin asked with obvious excitement. I think it means I'm going to become a professional problem solver who happens to specialize in helping families stay together. Same thing, Kira Lin declared with satisfaction. Except with better benefits and official authority to arrest bad people. Much better benefits, Nyalin agreed, including the satisfaction of knowing that your work prevents other children from having to live in maintenance tunnels while searching for their missing parents. As they sat down to breakfast together, Alex reflected on the chain of events that had brought them to this moment. A desperate child's plea for help had led to investigation, rescue, justice, and ultimately to a family structure that enriched all their lives while serving a larger purpose of protecting the vulnerable and exposing exploitation. Alex, Kira Lin said thoughtfully as she worked through her breakfast with the methodical approach she brought to everything, when you take this new job, will you still have time to help me with my science projects? Always, Alex assured her. Being a professional investigator just means I'll have more interesting stories to tell you about how engineering principles apply to real-world problem solving. And will you still teach me how to identify technical systems that might be used for illegal research? Kira Lin, Nyalin said with gentle reproach, you are 8 years old. You should be learning about normal childhood things, not illegal research identification. But Mama, Alex taught me that understanding how systems work helps you recognize when they are being used for wrong purposes. That is important knowledge for anyone who wants to protect people. She's got a point, Alex said, earning a look of amused exasperation from Nyalin. Besides, she's already demonstrated that she has excellent instincts for recognizing when something is wrong and taking appropriate action. Appropriate action like living alone for 6 months and approaching strange humans for help. Appropriate action like never giving up on finding you and having the courage to ask for help when she needed it, Alex corrected. Kira Lin's bravery is what started this whole investigation. Her courage saved not just you, but 42 other Scifistories who were being held illegally. One child's courage, Nyalin mused, looking at her daughter with obvious pride. It is remarkable how much can change when one person decides to fight for what is right instead of accepting what is easy. It helps when that one person finds other people who are willing to fight alongside them, Alex pointed out. Courage is more effective when it is shared. Then it is fortunate that we make such an excellent team, Kira Lin observed with the matter-of-fact wisdom that had been guiding their family since the day she first appeared in Alex's workstation. Looking at his family, chosen rather than biological, but no less real for being based on shared values and mutual care, Alex realized that the most important investigations were often the ones that led not just to justice, but to understanding what was worth fighting for in the first place. And what was worth fighting for, he had learned, was the right of children to grow up with their families, the right of scientists to pursue knowledge without fear, and the right of anyone in desperate circumstances to find help when they had the courage to ask for it. The rest was just professional details.